Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Patterson. This week marked the official start of the 2013 Volusia County Citizens Academy, and the county is announcing advisory board vacancies. And if you haven't heard of the Volusia Community Organizations Active in Disaster, or COAD, you will soon. This new organization's unique function will make the difference when it matters most. And recently, the state surgeon general addressed county council with his message about a health matter that affects an increasing portion of the population. Mosquito control is the topic of discussion with Community Information Director Dave Byron and his guest, Mosquito Control Director Jim McNelly. Those topics and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. Stay tuned. When disasters happen, neighbors and community organizations often want to reach out and help, but they're not sure how to go about it. One new organization, Volusia Community Organizations Active in Disaster, or COAD, is organizing to fill that need. More than 100 people recently turned out at COAD's membership kickoff meeting at the Volusia County Health Department. The individuals and organizations were ready and willing to offer manpower and services during disasters. Deanie Lowe, a COAD co-chair, explained the group's purpose.
We're forming because when a disaster hits, there are always gaps that are not covered by city, county, state, or federal agencies with the services they provide. So we're trying to get people who will volunteer their services or volunteer their resources to help us make up a directory of those items so that when there is an unmet need, we can call upon them to help get our community back on its feet.
The Volusia COAD is composed of faith-based groups, businesses, government agencies, social service agencies, civic groups, emergency management personnel, and individuals who have an interest in the safety and security of our county.
Well, it's absolutely critical. The COAD is going to fill an important role in our recovery efforts. It's all about helping people. You know, when it comes down to it, while the disasters on a large or even small scale, you know, they involve people. And so the COAD is going to go a long way to really helping the people recover from, you know, an event, whether it be a hurricane, tornado, whatever it might be. This group is going to be instrumental in helping us with the recovery efforts.
For more information about the Volusia COAD, please call 386-846-4673. You know, we're halfway through hurricane season, and it's been a quiet season so far. But that doesn't mean it's time to get complacent. Disaster preparedness is always a good idea. The middle of September is the peak of hurricane season. As such, Volusia residents need to ensure they have disaster supply kits, emergency plans prepared, and are in the loop to receive emergency notifications should a storm approach. Volusia County Emergency Management has multiple ways citizens can stay informed, not only during hurricane season, but throughout the year.
Well, you know, there's a lot of technology available today, and one of the things that I talk about are the different apps that are available out there. You know, all of us, seems like today, have those smartphones, iPads, and so forth, and, you know, rather than reinventing the wheel, there are some tremendous apps available through the American Red Cross. There's a wonderful hurricane app, tornado app, first aid app, wildfires, earthquakes, so there's a lot of really good information that's already out there. So rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, we just, you know, simply put that information out because it's all really good information here in that's applicable here for Volusia County.
Here are the details to sign up for these notification services. If you want to receive emergency management updates via email, and if you want to receive a notification of an emergency in your immediate area, citizens can register their phone numbers and email addresses at volusia.org/emergency. Citizens who do not have internet access but would like to sign up for any of these notifications can call Volusia County Emergency Management at 386-254-1500. This year's Citizens Academy is underway with a great mix of county residents who are taking a close look at the inner workings of Volusia County government. Members are meeting at various county facilities, including the Ocean Center, Daytona Beach International Airport, Tomoka Landfill, and the Volusia County Branch Jail. Recently, the group met with Election Supervisor Ann McFall to learn more about the elections process in Volusia County.
I've always been an involved citizen, and I have training in public administration, and I'm also an attorney. So I've always been curious as to the many areas of Volusia County government. I know that this is a wonderful opportunity to get that kind of in-depth exposure to government.
The Citizens Academy participants also will be reviewing crucial areas including growth management, community services, public protection, and the property appraiser's office. One of the Citizens Academy goals is to recruit resident volunteers to serve on the county's 28 advisory boards.
As a follow-up, to apply to become a part of some of the advisory boards. And it's a wonderful opportunity to look at all of the community service agencies who are trying to provide health care to indigent people. And that's very important. Your community rests on what we do for everyone.
Advisory boards are a great way for citizens to get involved in important issues that affect Volusia County. These groups research and make recommendations to the County Council on a variety of topics, including growth management, services for children and families, licensing for contractors, tourism marketing, funding for cultural organizations, and many more. The advisory boards listed on your screen have openings and are searching for members. Agribusiness Interrelationship Committee, Children and Families Advisory Board, Code Enforcement Board, Contractor Licensing and Construction Appeals Board, Cultural Council, Educational Facilities Authority, Health Facilities Authority, Human Services Advisory Board, Volusia Growth Management Commission. To learn more about Volusia County's advisory boards, and if you want to obtain an application, you can visit volusia.org/advisory.
I'm Volusia County Chair Jason Davis, asking for you to help us make our roads safer for motorcyclists. You can save a life by looking twice and following these safety tips. Double check traffic at intersections before you pull out. Check your blind spots before changing lanes. Stay focused on your driving. Leave at least a 4-second distance between your vehicle and the motorcycle in front of you. Remember that failing to yield right of way can result in the death of a motorcyclist.
Tucked away in the western Volusia County town of DeBary is what used to be the vacation hunting lodge of millionaire and champagne distributor Frederick DeBary. DeBary Hall is now owned by the state of Florida and managed by Volusia County. In addition to hosting this program, I'm also the manager of DeBary Hall, and I recently sat down with Here and Now reporter Joanne McNelly to talk about this historical landmark.
DeBary Hall was the winter retreat of European-born wine merchant Frederick DeBary, who chose the St. Johns River country for the site of his sprawling hunting estate.
He would come to Central Florida for his wintertime vacations, and he was mainly interested in hunting in the area. So over time, he amassed some 6,000 acres just as his personal hunting grounds. I call them his playground. And he would bring business associates, family members, and anybody who really wanted to come and spend time outdoors with him, and they would just enjoy Central Florida.
Today, DeBary Hall is owned by the state of Florida, and the county of Volusia manages the property, keeping it open to the public as a historic site and educational location. Today, the site is a little smaller, 10 acres, but it still includes the 8,000 square foot main house, stables, and other structures, plus artifacts and furnishings from the era. This may look like a closet with a window seat, but back in the day it was actually a luxury, an indoor outhouse. DeBary Hall also offers glimpses of the 19th century tourism boom, orange fever, and steamboating on the St. Johns River. Patterson says DeBary Hall is an educational treasure.
Our primary mission is education about this historic site and its role in Central Florida. So we do a variety of adult education programs. One particular one is called the Lemonade Lecture Series, which is held every other Saturday afternoon over in the Visitor Center or the stable, depends on how big our crowd gets.
Frederick DeBary passed away in 1898, and his son Adolph inherited the property, which was then passed on to his granddaughter, Laney DeBary.
In 1941, when Laney DeBary passed away, unfortunately, she was the last of the American line of the DeBarys. So the home and the property, all of its furnishings and everything was inherited by her first cousin, William Lyon. And one thing you have to understand about a wealthy family is, you know, what's another property to somebody? And so they really had no use for this southern Florida property. So what they wound up doing was deciding to sell it, furnished, fully furnished and everything.
After that, the home was purchased by a couple of families who bought it as an investment property. It was eventually purchased by the state and is on the National Register of Historic Places. But even with the state ownership, DeBary Hall was in need of community support.
I have to say, DeBary Hall never would have been preserved if it hadn't been for the active volunteerism in the community. We have a lot of very concerned citizens who play a great role and volunteer here to make sure that history is preserved, it's preserved properly, and it's done with respect and regard to the integrity of what was here originally. So we do have an active Friends group, Friends of DeBary Hall, who serve here at DeBary Hall as are kind of benefactors, if you will. They do regular fundraisers through the year. They also like to put on programs, educational programs, and they'll sponsor different programs.
For Volusia Here and Now, I'm Joanne Magley.
DeBary Hall Historic Site is open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Sundays from noon to 4 p.m. For more information, call 386-668-3840, or you can go online to DeBaryHall.com. With 65% of adults overweight or obese, Florida's Surgeon General is on a mission to do something about it. Dr. John Armstrong addressed the Volusia County Council and discussed the state's Healthiest Weight initiative. It's a public-private collaboration bringing together state agencies, non-for-profit organizations, businesses, and entire communities to help Florida's children and adults make consistent, informed choices about healthy eating and active living. Stephanie Strong has more about Dr. John Armstrong's visit to Volusia County in this segment of Community Health Matters.
His day started before the Volusia County Council, talking about a topic that is considered the #1 threat to the bright future of Florida: weight. State Surgeon General and Secretary of the Florida Department of Health, Dr. John Armstrong.
Currently, only 35% of Floridians are at healthy weight, which means that 65% are overweight or obese. And on this trend, by 2030, almost 60% of Floridians will be obese. But what scares me more than that is the realization that on our current trend by 2030, 6 out of 10 babies born today will be overweight or obese.
Dr. Armstrong was the keynote speaker at the Healthy Volusia meeting held at the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to be here in Volusia County, and I appreciate what I am seeing in front of me on all of your faces, which is collaboration across the community to protect, promote, and improve the health of all people in Volusia County. Health is more than the health department. Health is more than health care. Health involves reflecting on how it is that we can shape environments for healthier choices for people.
The cost of care for chronic diseases from obesity alone, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and arthritis are unsustainable, estimated to be $34 billion over the next 17 years.
I support him 100% in his initiative. I've dealt with several people who try to lose weight. They get very fixated on numbers, and what they need to focus on is being in a healthy weight range and being very active. He talked about using Florida fresh produce instead of having chips If you desire a crunch, eat carrots, cucumbers, or something crunchy, and not only will you get a healthful snack, but you'll get that satisfaction in terms of satisfying that crunch.
Healthiest Weight Florida is a public-private collaboration bringing together state agencies, not-for-profit organizations, businesses, and entire communities to help Florida's children and adults make consistent, informed choices about healthy eating and active living. Here's how you can get started toward your healthiest weight. Substitute water for sugary beverages. Substitute Florida Fresh for processed foods. And instead of always using the elevator, try using the stairs. For more information, please visit www.healthiestweightflorida.com. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Stephanie Strong, Public Information Officer for the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County.
As always, if you have any questions about this or any other health-related issues, you can log on to volusiahealth.com. It's time now to head into the studio to join our very own Community Information Director, Dave Byron, with his guest, Jim McNelly of Volusia County Mosquito Control.
Well, thank you, Amber, and hi, everyone. Without a doubt, this has been a wet summer, and that means the county's mosquito control operation has had its hands full keeping the annoyance level at an acceptable point. And of course, mosquitoes can carry viruses harmful to humans. So with that in mind, we have with us in the studio today Volusia County's Mosquito Control Director, Jim McNelly. We're going to get the latest on the mosquito conditions in Volusia County, and we'll tell you what the county is doing and what you can do to help reduce the number of mosquitoes around your property. Jim, how you doing today?
Doing very well, Dave.
Now, I got to ask you, we usually have you on. In fact, I think I looked it up. We had you on in June. And we were talking about the fact that you were getting ready for the busy summer season. Didn't know at that time how much rainfall we were going to get, but I've been around here 35 years, and this seems like a pretty wet summer to me. How you doing out there? What's the level?
We're doing okay. The level is average right now, but the dry spell that we had several weeks ago has broken again. We saw quite a lot of rainfall on the west side. We're really expecting an uptick in the production here coming into Labor Day weekend.
Jim, for those folks that don't understand, there's a correlation between standing water and mosquito activity levels. And so as you have educated me over the years that, you get a heavy rainfall, the area gets wet, about a week, 10 days later, you get these mosquitoes.
Absolutely. Mosquito production is one of those just add water experiments. You add water from rainfall, you add water from high tides on the salt marsh, and bingo, it kicks off the mosquito cycle. And as you said, 7-10 days later, we're in business.
Obviously, we know that mosquitoes can spread illnesses to humans. I haven't heard of any significant problems this year, but what's the answer? We got any problems out there with encephalitis or something like that?
In the state, isolated pockets. In Volusia County, no problems at all. We are seeing some situations down in St. Martin, Lucie, and Miami-Dade with a virus called dengue. But again, in Volusia County, no interaction with any diseases.
I read your very fine op-ed piece in the Daytona Beach News Journal recently, in which you were talking about how mosquito control operations around the country are discovering new species to deal with. And you talked about this ferocious critter called the Asian tiger mosquito, which, you sort of sent up a warning flag here.
It really is a game changer for us. It really is a game changer for anybody who's living in Florida at this point. So this is a mosquito that was imported into Texas 28 years ago. It since has spread throughout the United States. And as I said in the article, I found it in my backyard. If it's in my backyard, because this is what I do for a living, it could be in anybody's backyard.
And so with that having been said, what's the concern? I mean, is this a mosquito that's hard to control, or a mosquito that is particularly prone to spreading viruses, or what's the overall concern?
It's a mosquito that has the potential to spread virus. Again, we're not seeing any interaction between this mosquito and disease in Volusia County. The issue is just that it's so prolific. It'll breed in any type of an artificial container, even natural containers. So artificial containers from the size of a bottle cap on up to a wheelbarrow that catches rainwater, through your bromeliads and holes in trees, tree holes.
Well, we tend to, be concerned, particularly in a state like Florida, about, imported species. And I don't, you tend to think of like spiders and snakes and other things, but you don't tend to think about mosquitoes. I guess this is another example.
It really is. And, there are any number of organizations that are vigilant to this, that look at shipments, cargo shipments that come into our ports, that look at airplanes, that disinfect airplanes as they come into the United States. This is a huge issue. It's not unique to Florida. It happens around the United States.
Going to get worse, you think, or we just, now that we know about it, we're going to be able to deal with it?
Well, in the mosquito control industry has been dealing with this for decades.
Okay.
So whether it gets worse or not, we would hope not, and I would expect not with the vigilance now that we do have in place in ports.
But what I would guess is there'll be more to come. I mean, you guys, you're always telling me about some new mosquito.
Yeah, we try not to be the Chicken Littles of the world, but this is our bailiwick.
Right.
You're never going to get all of the mosquitoes that are out there. It's just impossible, really.
You mentioned Chicken Little, but let's talk about chickens, because you do have a number of chickens. You call them your sentinel flocks that you have around Volusia County, and that's a good way to they're kind of barometers of what's out there.
They are. They're a barometer. They're a smoke alarm. We have 12 of these flocks throughout the county, 6 in the district, 6 on the west side outside of the actual district. And we bleed these once a week, send the blood samples off to the state health. We do that on a Monday. We get our results back by Friday. The results tell us whether those mosquitoes have been exposed to one of 4 or 5 viruses. And again, no exposure to those viruses this year.
Well, that's really good news. Jim, I was surprised when I asked you before we started taping. I would have thought, just guessed, with all the rain we've had, that the mosquito activity level would be pretty difficult to deal with. And you said, hey, you guys are managing it. That sort of made me think that maybe you guys have been pretty good this year at trying to, to hit the hot spots ahead of time and kind of be proactive. Tell us what sort of things you've been doing to manage all of this.
I think we've actually and have done a very good job. We have our inspectors that go out every day, look at standing water. I will say Mother Nature has helped us to a certain extent. The saving grace this year has been a salt marsh that's been relatively quiet for a district that was founded on salt marsh production.
Right.
But we are proactive. We do go out and we have regular inspection routes that look at production sites.
All right, so you determine that there's a problem in a neighborhood or a problem in a wooded area or whatever. What do you do at that point?
Well, we look in the water. If there's standing water, we look in the water for the aquatic stages. If we find those aquatic stages, then we'll treat that water and stop development into the adult mosquitoes. There's the potential to manage the water, perhaps dig a ditch or remove a blockage from a ditch to keep that water moving. Ultimately, if we can't manage the water, if we can't remove the water, if we can't mitigate the development of the mosquito into an adult, then we have to put out a space spray, do the fogging that people are familiar with.
So do I gather from that fogging is kind of a last resort option, the last thing on the response scale?
That's the last tool in the toolbox.
I see.
It's really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we do on a daily, a weekly basis.
Obviously, in a county like Volusia County, with all the salt marshes and the whole topography of Volusia County, we are subtropical and that sort of thing. You can't do it all, so you do count on the citizens, the business owners, the homeowners to help themselves. So tell us what people can do to help themselves and help you.
Well, what they can do is attempt as much as possible to do a weekly inspection during the mosquito season. So between May and October, if a homeowner will just inspect their grounds and look for those containers that are potentially holding water, that have the potential to produce mosquitoes, and tip that water over, toss the container if it's an unnecessary container, flush the container. That will alleviate many of their problems and their neighbors' problems.
And obviously, if they're going to be out and about during the height of the mosquito day, like late at night or in the dusk period, I should say, dawn period, they should cover up if there is any concerns whatsoever that they might be vulnerable to a mosquito disease.
Cover up, take the proper precautions, put on a repellent, You can go to our website through the Volusia County website,
Right.
and look for mosquito services. We have a link to the various repellents that people can access over the counter. Absolutely, take all the proper precautions.
And Jim, the active ingredient that people should be looking for when they buy that repellent is DEET, DEET, correct?
DEET, correct. That's the gold standard. That's the standard by which everything else is compared.
You know, Jim, finally, a lot of people don't realize how your organization is funded. You're part of Volusia County government, but you actually have a taxing district in East Volusia, which goes back many, many years.
Yes.
You collect taxes, basically, I guess, east of Interstate 95. Is
Roughly east of 95.
So that's the district, but what happens when there's a problem, let's say, on the west side of the county that's outside of the district?
If it's outside of the district, we have contracts with the cities outside of the districts, and those constituents can, through the city, gain access to mosquito control services. Excuse me. We do have to work with our liaison inside the city to provide those services. And then outside of those cities, in unincorporated Volusia County, County Council provides monies for mosquito control related activities.
Small property tax for a lot of relief, I guess, is what you
really
could say.
is.
Without mosquito control, I'd hate to think what life would be like around here.
It would be pretty tough.
Jim, for folks that would like to get more information, perhaps they have a problem around their neighborhood that they'd like to have you investigate, how do people get more information or get a hold of you?
You know, if you can go online, you can access us electronically. Go to volusia.org. You'll see a menu of services, and mosquito control is one of them. Just click on that link, and you can get right to our homepage, get right to the service request. That's a real fast and easy way to access us. We'll send an inspector within 24, 48 hours to each and every service request. And then, of course, they can reach us by phone. So one of the phone numbers is 386-424-2920.
Well, Jim, I want to thank you for sharing the information with us. Sounds like you guys have had your hands full, but doing pretty well this summer. So thanks for being with us.
Appreciate it, Dave.
Our guest today, Jim McNelly. He's the county's mosquito control director. And with that, Amber, we'll go back to you.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. Incidentally, you can find the County Council's meeting calendar there too. In fact, you can use volusia.org to find out about meeting dates, workshops, topics of interest, activities, and how you can become involved. In fact, throughout the month of September, Volusia County's land management has several outdoor activities scheduled. And if you'd like more information, you can call 386-736-5927. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today, Volusia County Government's weekly radio program. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Patterson. Have a wonderful evening.